Good morning, everybody. Today is the first day in the month of June 2022. Happy new month to us. It will be a great month. Wishing everybody the very best in this month. My name is Heritage at this markets analyst at HFM Nigeria. And quickly, as always, we check through the markets, find out what is going on in the market, what the overall sentiment is in the markets, the big stories, if they provide opportunities, and then how we can take advantage of it. But please, like always, remember that this is just a communication material and nothing in this communication contains or should be considered as investment advice or investment recommendation. Users acknowledge that investment in FX and CFD products is characterized by a certain degree of uncertainty, and that any investment of this nature involves a high level of risk for which users are solely responsible and liable. What we have this morning in terms of the overall environment, yes, it's a slight improvement. We've seen a slight improvement in risk sentiment generally, but most of these moves are lackluster and it's not the kind of improvement that you want to really be latching on to too heavily or reading too much into, right? So far, I had this written down earlier. I said risk sentiment improves in today's session as we kick off the month of June, but despite that, or despite equities generally trading in the green, trading in positive regions, you look at the US futures side and you notice that lackluster performance, lackluster action, where they're still mostly within yesterday's ranges, and the US is only up by 0.30% so far, right? Earlier we had reports. It was late yesterday, actually, we had reports of a potential Russia exclusion from OPEC's output deal, right? Looking to exclude Russia from the new deal to increase production. And clearly, that means that Russia's outputs, Russia's exports, right, may not be in that deal, which means that supply is not won't be in there, and that generally reduces the amount of oil in the markets, right? Clearly, that still says that places like Saudi Arabia could get more, more outputs out there. But in the meantime, that was a bad thing for oil price, and we had oil prices dip in US time yesterday. But so far today, it dipped close to 115, actually to $115 per barrel level. And then so far today, we've seen slight support from that level. Also earlier today, we had data from Australia, GDP for Q1, and it came out better than expected, even though it was still in contraction zone compared to the last quarter. That's Q4, right? But even with that, we had that support the Australian dollar, give it a little bit of boost, push it to the top of the majors, and is leading the majors so far today. The dollar is also on the strong side as well in today's session. We had a meeting between Joe Biden and Fetcher Powell, right? Where basically the outcome was inflation is still very much the focus of both arms, and then clearly their aim is to try and grab inflation, drag inflation back under control. That means that further hikes by the Federal Reserve starting their quantitative tightening officially today as well. All of that clearly provides support for the dollar. Even higher bond yields as well has also provided support for the USD. So both leading the majors. On the other hand, you have the Japanese yen lagging amongst the major FX, where we could say higher bond yields weighing on the Japanese yen so far. NZD is also down across board as well in today's session, apart from the JPY, despite slightly higher equity. So that gives you more of a mixed flow. And then the euro is also somewhere there lagging. The pound is also somewhere at the top of the majors too. So you see, we have mixed flows across. But for the euro, we had reports from comments from ECB Fiscal earlier, where we said that rate hikes, right? Yes, it needs a hike rate, but it should be gradual because you look at the uncertainties. You talk about oil, you talk about Russia, Ukraine. So all of that is still, very much there, and that has weighed on the euro a little bit. Looking to PS strength versus weakness of all of them, AUD, JPY, well, could be looked at. Still long-term bullish on the AUD. And it hasn't changed. So, this particular sentiment today still helps. But you look through AUD JPY, for example, it's broken through 92.5, right? But right now we're having a key resistance area, key level going back to early April, I think 8th and 9th of April, right? Clearly around 93.00. So put that at the back of your mind. You look at Euro AUD as well. Yes, falling as well into this session in line with strengths and weaknesses, but it's currently finding support at 1.4900, which is something you want to also be very watchful about. And then USJPY has found resistance around 129.50. So despite the fact that we have that slight improvement, the overall lackluster environment makes it a little bit tricky to try and jump into what we're seeing so far, because you look at overall flows, right? Mostly a mixed bag, right? FX trading mixed. We have some high beta currencies and CBAM currencies leading, similar story on the lagging side. So there's that to pay attention to. Equities mostly lackluster, despite a slight tilt positive, but but mostly lackluster. Commodities and measures of volatility are trading mostly mixed so far in today's session. So clearly, you should put that at the back of your mind. It's not just about latching onto strengths and weaknesses. It's more about looking for high probability, high conviction trade opportunities before looking to get into the market. Later today, it will be an interesting one on the calendar. We have a couple of Federal Reserve members on the wires. We have ECB Lagarde also on the wires. US ISM manufacturing PMI also expected, and most importantly, the Bank of Canada rate decision. Now, expectation is for the BOC to hike by about 50 basis points in the meeting today. That's already mostly priced in. I'd like to hear from them in terms of the comments, what's said after. There's been an overboard expectations from the market about the BOC's hikes going forward. So I'd like to hear what they have to say regarding that. But clearly, I had that on my radar. We talked about it a little bit on the morning show on Top Radio 90.9 on a Monday. But keep that at the back of our minds and let's see how that plays out. Now, quickly looking at the equity space, for example, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is so far today. Today is 1st of June, and basically we've really not moved an ounce. As a matter of fact, now we're even lower by 0.10%. When I wrote that, we're up by 0.30%. It just gives you a picture that really nothing is going on here so far, and then it's still well within ranges from yesterday, and then clear support trend line coming from 24th of May. So I mean, how convinced am I that it should push higher? Not yet. It's the first of the month, right? Things are just getting started. So it's not really a surprise having to get this lackluster performance. If equities recover higher, bounce up this level, push higher, then I would really like to see more AUD upside, right? More weakness for the Japanese yen. But in the meantime, this just gives me a picture of that, just be patient, wait it out, and then let's see if there is something more tangible that we can work with. But that being said, this is what we have on the US 500. You look at the US 100 as well. Now even pointing lower, right? But still well within yesterday's ranges. And then it's still one of those ones where you want to be very, very, very watchful about. I'm being more patient. I'm waiting to see how this, plays out. But clearly is one I have on my radar as well in terms of the overall sentiment. Oil price, like I talked about yesterday, we had that push lower, right? On the back of the report about Russia and oil output. But then so far we found support that is 115.00 dollar per barrel level, and we've pushed higher from there. This is also an interesting level. If you look at that level as well, just going back to mid of May, I think 16th, 17th, and 18th of May, they're about also the highs of 26th and 27th of May, and we found support at that level. Right? With oil prices, being scarce in terms of the amount of volume we have there, right? Clearly, outputs, clearly that's something you want to be very, very watchful about. But having said that, you want to also have that in the back of your mind that, there's still that overall COVID there, and there's also oil production, slowdown in terms of Russia's outputs, Russia's production, Russia's supply to global markets, with EU looking to reduce the amount of, basically ban about two over three to third of Russia's export to the EU. I'm talking about 90% ban by end of year. All of that just says oil supply in the market is reducing, right? And then that means that there's still overall upside expected for oil prices in terms of lower supply, higher prices. But there's that to put at the back of my mind, but just put that, under the radar. So far today, I'm still being a little bit more cautious, right, on this particular front. Just a quick one looking at strengths and weaknesses. You want to look at something like Euro versus AUD, right? So far in today's session, yes, we want to talk about, Euro on the weak side, but I mean, you look at where we're trading right now, key area of support level here, just looking back a bit, we found some support going back to, this was, I think, 16th of May, there about around the 1.49. And then you look at it right now, we've really just held at every point in time that we got to that level. So even if you want to talk about strengths and weaknesses, I mean, we're not seeing enough momentum to even continue lower. And then this lackluster performance here just says, be more careful, be more patient, and wait out for something more concrete. If you want to look at AUD JPY too, like I talked about, yes, we push higher. Yes, over the last couple of sessions, we've had nice grind higher. This would have been very interesting to look out for in yesterday's session. But so far today, we're finding resistance at 93.00. And you look at that level as well, was also key, key area of resistance, support, going back as far back as 8th thereabout of April. So all of it just says to be more cautious, more patient. For the Bank of Canada meeting, if they come out hiking by only 50 basis points and don't give us anything overly hawkish, I think we could see some downside for the Canadian dollar. And what I have on my radar, AUD versus the CAD. It's something I have on my radar if we don't get as hawkish as we would like in terms of the Bank of Canada. So this is the key level I'm paying attention to, this 0.91. We can clear out this level to the upside on the back of a less hawkish BOC, clear out to the upside, because if 50 basis points will not be enough to see further strength in the Canadian dollar. It's already expected, already priced in. So it has to be more. Right, so I like to see clearing out of this, retest of this, maybe pushing higher. But if they come out being overly hawkish as well, clearly that would put in some strength for the Canadian dollar as well. Another thing that we can also look out for would be CAD versus the euro. Euro CAD is also something we talked about earlier. Where's Euro CAD? Just a quick one. Kind of find euro versus the CAD. Let me get this off. Euro versus the CAD. All right, so we have Euro CAD. So if we're going to look at this as well, right, in terms of the BOC, what to expect right now so far, yes, we're not really moving so far. But if we get a less hawkish Bank of Canada, right, clearly this and that thing also pay attention to in terms of the moves. Let's just look at this in a bit now. This key area of support that we are really struggling with around 1.355 could be interesting. You can see key area here, went back as far back as even early April 12th, well, let's say mid-April, right? If we have a less hawkish Bank of Canada, clearly I want to see a break below this, a retest, and then further pushes to the downside. Alternatively, a bigger hike than 50 basis points, a strong forward guidance. The hikes are coming in heavy and strong. That supports the CAD, and you want to look at something like CAD JPY in terms of further upside. That's it for now. On the calendar today, it's really, really an interesting one. We have ISM manufacturing PMI for the US. Yes, we should pay attention to this, but I don't expect there to be any much changes in terms of the outlook for the Federal Reserve from this. The Bank of Canada meeting is expected, very interesting. A couple of Fed speakers, Williams and Bullard on the wires, and we have ECB Lagarde as well on the wire. So that's it for now. Thank you very much. And please remember, it's mostly a mixed bag, right? Let's just be more careful and more patient with kind of moves we've seen so far. But having said that, do enjoy the rest of the trading session, and goodbye for now. Thank you.